Attorney Cindy Nelson of Nelson Elder Care Law met with two local authors who shared their stories from the book Midlife Margaritas, Stories from Women Who Made It to the Other Side of 40 and Rocked It. Sarah Weitzenkorn and Brooke Schmidt each lost a parent. Sarah's essay on becoming a caregiver for a parent, being thankful for what is left, not lamenting what is lost, focuses on the actions Sarah took using a power of attorney to navigate the progression of her mother's Alzheimer's diagnoses and subsequent passing away. Brooke's essay on the loss of a parent, how I grieved, coped, and learned to live differently after my father died, delves into the frightening experience of helplessness when confronting her dad's esophageal cancer. Both Sarah and Brooke advocate for education on issues of estate pre-planning and esophageal cancer awareness. Sarah recommends communicating with parents early on about their wishes to help determine the right actions to take. Having a plan in place minimizes stress and fosters the ability to provide the best care possible when needs arise without a crisis. Brooke is a member of the Esophageal Cancer Action Network, whose mission is to save lives by increasing awareness about the link between reflux disease and cancer, promoting early detection, and supporting medical innovation to prevent, detect, treat, and cure esophageal cancer, and linking patients and families to compassionate support.
Diagnosed with Alzheimer's at age 69.
Wow.
So we moved her here.
Mm-hmm.
So she lived near us for the first year, and then we recognized she needed a little bit more care. So then we found a great place in Austell. So she lived there. She started in assisted living and then went to memory care and then was finally in the nursing home.
Like Alzheimer's, they don't really remember that they can't remember, which brings a whole host of other challenges, but
it was definitely challenging. The first couple of years were kind of a blur, honestly, with young kids and moving her, selling her house, cleaning it out, buying a place here, dealing with the taking over her accounts. But I think when we said, Mom, we're going to move you closer to us, even though she had been diagnosed and was in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, she was fine with it. I think she knew that she
knew something was
was
right.
wrong. And her mother had Alzheimer's. She knew, I think, what to expect, and I think deep down knew. So
Get the legal authority early. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Nobody can do this on their own.
Right.
Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
It's overwhelming. The thought of it takes a village is more true than ever when our parents are aging and need a lot of care.
know what your parents want. Make everything as easy as possible. Make sure they have a will. Make sure they tell you everything they want. Maybe an instant where you're making decisions, or it may be 7 years like me, but either way, just get as prepared as possible.
And every year, I think it gets more difficult to accomplish things without having the legal authority,
Sure.
because there's more and more scams
Yes.
and that type of thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Brooke, I'm gonna turn to you now. Again, thanks for coming today. So yours was a little bit different with your dad, so tell us about that.
My dad was about 57 and had started having trouble swallowing and knew something was up, but every time he went to a doctor, they couldn't really figure it out. They did assure him over and over he did not have cancer.
Wow.
And so my parents, over a few months, ended up at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And those doctors also said that he did not have cancer. Since that time, there's a lot of new testing techniques that have really come a long way for people. But it is just one of those cancers where once you start having symptoms, if you're having trouble swallowing, that's because the cancer is so far along already.
Is that right? So
Yeah.
before you even notice the symptoms,
Right.
the cancer's there, it's progressing.
Correct. He was very strong, like the dad in the family. And at first, it was like, let's rally the troops. We're going to fight this. And
We're gonna win.
Right,
We're
right.
gonna fight, we're gonna win,
Yeah.
yes.
And so it was really brutal disease. And, some folks will go through chemo and radiation and they'll go to work. Like they'll, you know, in the morning they'll go to chemo and radiation, they'll come to work. It's like nothing ever happened, but it wasn't easy for my dad.
It seems like a lot of people go into denial. Now, do you feel like your family did, Brooke, that you guys?
No. My dad actually took charge. I mean, looking back, but he did not want to leave anything to chance. He didn't want to leave responsibility on my mom or my brother and I.
So as you look back, what would you say? What was your dad's life like, even though it was extended because of that? Do you think that the quality of life might have been better if he hadn't went through the chemo and the radiation?
I don't, because he was able to eat again at the end. That tradition was important in our family. And so that seemed like a really big deal to be able to get to that point. And the quality of life when you can't eat, I mean, it's just those things that you never think about it, just like breathing. Until you have a cold, you have no idea that you're breathing. Even though, I mean, if you could pick and choose and in the future and know, you know, if we would have just done radiation and not put him through the chemo. But then there's always those miracles. Yes. And I know I have people that I've met on this journey whose fathers and grandfathers did recover from esophageal cancer and are doing fine 15 years later. You know, that's rare, but it happens. And so how do you know unless you try that you're going to be that person?
That's a good point. So you said fathers and grandfathers. Is it primarily men that get esophageal cancer?
It is. It is the fastest growing cancer diagnosis in America for men.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. It is also one of the least funded as far as research from the federal government. A doctor who knows about esophageal cancer asking around and then demand you get an annual endoscopy. That's the best chance for getting diagnosed, is to have a baseline endoscopy and then get one every year so they can see what changes might be happening in the esophagus.
And what kind of doctor is that?
A GI.
Okay.
GI doctor, yep.
Yeah, but they probably have specialties.
Sure.
Got it. Okay.
We like to think that he was making that day something joyous instead of something sad. So my mom helped with the kids for a long time, and now she lives back in Florida again where my brother and his family are.
Okay. Very good. Well, so I'm sorry you lost your father, but it sounds like the family really came together in both of your situations to help get through what probably at many times seemed like it was insurmountable.
Definitely. I think when you talk about curveballs, I just think about how, like, you don't even realize that you're catching balls all the time until it's the pitch that comes that you're like,
The hard ball.
right, yeah. And then you're like, I wasn't prepared for that.